1, 2, 3. Ah, 1, 2, 3.
I mean,
These chairs is not to view it as a backrest. It's really a butt rest. So like,
nobody ever eats turkey outside of Thanksgiving.
you can't keep your mouth shut.
Pecan.
Yeah,
Pecan?
I'm arguing against this right now.
We're talking green poo all the way up the back towards the neck.
Oh, yikes.
You're like a brontosaurus or something.
Like you eat like a herbivore.
So, I thought you were pretty awkward.
I'm having fun, but to be honest, I'm getting kind of hungry.
Well, now I am all fired up. Let's go. All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Clay, and I'm the This Gen pastor here at The Rock, and I'm hanging out with a very special guest today, my father and our lead pastor at the church, Josh Finklea. Josh.
How you
Dad,
doing?
How you doing?
I'm good. You just called me Dad.
It was weird.
Yeah,
I don't.
that's good.
You know, it fits the subject matter today.
It does.
First of all,
Hello, everybody.
That's
good
right.
to see you guys. Glad you're at a house group or watching online, wherever you might be. So thankful for you guys.
Yeah, he took everything I was going to say, so that's
Oh,
perfect.
oops.
Yeah, it is what it is. See, we're on the same page already. All right, let's just go ahead and dive in. Let's just jump
Okay.
into this. We're talking about fatherhood and parents today. It's a real big subject, and I got to know, was there ever a time, because
Yes.
I'm surely you're going to remember this more
Yes.
than me, where you told me very clearly not to do something,
Yes.
and then I chose to do it,
yes.
and it ended up very poorly.
Well, my favorite story about you, Clay, is the time that I talked to you about being nice to people.
Yeah.
And you were out on the trampoline, and
Oh, yeah.
one of your buddies said something, and you yelled at him I think the words were, I'm either going to kill you, or I'm just going to hit you, or I'm going to beat you up. Well, because of that, I made you come inside because I heard it.
Yeah.
If you don't know this about Clay as a kid had a quick gag reflex, meaning he would throw up all the time. Just anything, throw up. Well, that day I decided to, because you were using your mouth in the wrong way.
Yeah.
That was the first time you ever got your mouth washed out with soap.
Oh, that was bad. Because
Curious, not that I can see you, but anybody here ever had their mouth washed out with soap? I don't know if you're raising your hand or not. But for those of you who have, you understand. Yes, you did. And the greatest thing is,
I threw up everywhere.
Yeah, because it was liquid soap. So it's, you know.
It was like
Yeah, I remember
instant.
yelling at you going, don't. And you held it in. And then I said, okay. And then
Threw up
right
everywhere.
into the toilet.
It was great. That leads us perfectly into our subject. We are talking about how we should honor our mother and our father today. And if we do so, we will live a long life. And that's what it talks about in Exodus 20.
Yep.
How it's one of the 10 Commandments, and we're in a brand new series called Yikes. And I love this series because it's a series where we're going to say some things that are going to make people feel called out a little bit, and you're going to hear it, and you're going to go, ooh, yikes, like that's me. I'm pumped about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to hit some really tough subjects, but I think it's going to be very beneficial to a lot of people, and I think this subject of honoring your father and mother can lead to a lot of people saying, yikes. Mm-hmm. Why do you think there is so much parent-children disconnect today, and why do you think so many kids have problems with their parents in 2019?
Yeah. You know, it's an interesting thing because I think there is definitely a clash, and I'll get to that in a second. But I also have seen a hunger and a desire for this gen, for you guys, to actually connect with older adults.
Yeah.
More so than any other generation that I've ministered to.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
whether
not
that
lying.
be just an adult small group leader, house group leader, whether that be your actual parents, whether that be some grandparents. Like there's just, I see in high school students and college students, just the desire to say, man, I want to sit down at a dinner table and I want to connect with somebody older and I want to glean some wisdom.
Yeah.
So one, I applaud you for that, and I definitely want to encourage you to keep doing that. But I think the reason there's a clash is because we're suffering through the ripple effect of previous generations. That my generation was honestly kind of the first generation where the divorce rate spiked. Before my generation, the baby boomers, most of them had mom and dad at home. My generation was when many of us started having split families. My generation is called the latchkey generation, where we had our keys on our chain around our neck when we come home to an empty house. So the problem with that is this: most of you all are kids of parents who are my age or maybe just a few years younger than me. And your parents and me, many of us grew up with a divorce situation already.
Wow.
So now you
Yeah.
have the ripple effect going on
Yep,
that
absolutely.
that's going on in our families now is we're just modeling what was modeled before us. And so it's created this huge clash of, well, we're just used to now the fact that there's a good chance that I only live at home with one parent or maybe with a step parent. And those can be great families, all right? If you're in a single family home, a single parent home, or a home with a step parent, that's not a bad thing, okay? It's one of those things God can still use, and you can
Absolutely.
have a great family.
100%.
I have a stepfather that my stepfather came into my life when I was in first grade. He has been my dad, okay? And he loves me dearly and has been my dad now for what?
Long time.
Long time.
We'll just
Thank
say long
you.
time.
We'll
We'll
just
say
leave it
long
at
time.
that. A long time. So you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
So we can find hope through that for sure.
How can students honor their parents when they're being dishonorable? Like when the
Yeah.
parent isn't showing a great example, when the parent is leading them astray, when the parent is dealing with all these problems that a student should never be involved with. How do you still honor your parents in that?
Sure, yeah, because I mean we do have to take it back to the text.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm gonna preach on this at the Rock on our weekend services this weekend, and so I'll keep it short. But I'd say this that one, if you honor your father and mother, that was written to a culture back then where most of the time father and mother were in the same house.
Yep,
It was a patriarchal system, and you would just do what your dad did. And so it was really easy to honor. But now we step into it today, and we have situations that just really primarily didn't exist back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
100%.
so how do you honor, because you want that long life, you want things to go well with you, how do you honor if your parents aren't being honorable? And I think the only way to answer that question is to say you got to go back to Scripture. And you've got to go, well, how can I honor my best parent, meaning God? How can I honor God? Because if I'm always honoring God, then your natural byproduct will be honoring your parents,
100%.
all right? And maybe they're not doing honorable things. It doesn't mean that we don't have to honor them, because we still have to honor God.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it doesn't diminish maybe if you've been hurt maybe by a parent or maybe it's been a tough road. It doesn't diminish that. But what it means is if I'm honoring God in all things, then the natural byproduct of that, the fruit as Scripture calls it,
Yeah, absolutely.
the fruit would be then I'm also going to, at least in a biblical way, honor my parents. Now, your parents might go, well, I don't follow God and I don't follow biblical principles. That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, it's a whole nother
But
can of
if
worms
I'm
open.
honoring God and I'm honoring Him and following Him, then the fruit of that should be things that honor your parents.
Yeah.
In the way that you live, the way that you love, the way that you serve.
What about if a student has a parent that is very discouraging towards their faith? What's the move for them?
Yeah, boy, that's tough. And I lived in that world for about a year of my Christianity. That when I came to faith, your grandma and grandpa, they did not have faith at that time. And my mom several times chewed me out because of my faith.
Wow.
But the reason she chewed me out is because she hadn't seen the difference my faith had made in my life. Because at home, I wasn't living.
You weren't living that.
Yeah, I was just being what I'd always been. Out in public, I was different because I wasn't doing the things that I used to do. But those were the things I kept hidden from my mom anyway. You know what I mean? So she didn't know I was doing it anyway.
Yeah, she had no idea.
So I'd had a lot of sin behavior change,
Yeah.
but my sin behavior in my house of just the way I treated my mom and answered my mom, that really hadn't changed. So when she got on me one time, I realized that. So I made a very conscious effort to do my very best to serve my mom and dad. To
Yeah,
think
that's so
in
good.
all aspects, how do I serve them? Because if I serve them and if I pray for them and if I'm patient with them, then maybe they'll come into a personal walk with God. And honestly, that's what happened.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's what
practiced
actually
those
happened,
things,
yeah.
And eventually they came along.
Yeah, and I think that's huge to realize is that your influence is not lost whenever you are honoring God and honoring your parents, because that's a great example of it. Like, even if it might not be a significant change in that regard for them right away, consistency over time is going to show them a whole lot about who you are as a person, but not only just you as a person, but who God is, because God has consistently changed your life, and you'll be able to influence them in a way that you would have never had the opportunity otherwise. That's a really cool opportunity, and it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but the opportunity is there.
That's right.
There's a second part of this verse that I just want to dive into real quick,
Okay.
and it's, so you will live a long life.
Mm-hmm.
How do these concepts of honoring your father and mother and living the long life, how do they tie in together and pair together?
Well, if you don't honor your father and mother, just joking.
Whammo!
We understand discipline, don't we? No, I think it's not just, we translate it in today's language, a long life. Other translations will say, so that you may live. And the idea is it's a better life, all right? Just by honoring your father and mother doesn't mean you're going to live until you're 82, okay?
Correct.
We know the shortness of life. What it really means, though, is you're going to have a better life. Yeah. And I can just say
Absolutely.
You know, with you, with the other, 3 family members, that were in our family, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Growing up, that things are just simply better when the relationship is better.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes, it is.
Like, you're not grounded from your phone. You're not grounded to your room. You're not having to pick up pine cones.
Oh, that was a terrible punishment.
That was a great one.
Oh, it was awful.
But you know what I mean? It's just life is better when there's honor.
How would you challenge students to respond to this idea of honoring your father and mother and honoring God? And how do we pair those two together, and how do we respond from here?
Yeah, don't just go home and make your bed or clean your room or pick up your clothes. Is Abby listening?
She better be. Boom!
Wait, I forgot. Yikes.
Yikes.
No, seriously, the best way that we can respond is really look at, in my life, I want to honor God. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
But God said the way you love people is a reflection of the way you love him. So the same would hold true. If I want to honor God, the way I honor my mom and my dad is going to be a reflection of how I honor God.
Yeah.
So let's do our very best to honor God, to love God, which means let's do our very best to honor and love our parental units.
Yeah. Well, Dad, thanks for raising me. Thanks for dealing with all my knuckleheadness, and try my best to continue to honor you at 25 years old, do all that good stuff, because it doesn't stop when you're...
It doesn't stop.
It never ends.
That's right.
So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I know high schoolers, you're watching this at house group. I actually know middle schoolers you're watching right now on Thursday night as well, because he's going to be preaching on Thursday night, but we still wanted to have him pulled into this conversation. So I'm glad you guys are able to watch. I hope that you guys have a great small group, and if you're watching digitally, drop a comment, drop any questions that you have. We'd love to talk to you and help you out in any way we can. We'll see you guys soon.
Peace.